And now, News 4's Weather Extra.
Hey everyone, welcome into Weather Extra on this Thursday evening. I am not in Dothan. I am at the National Tropical Weather Conference in South Padre Island, Texas, with a familiar face, Dr. Phil Klossbach from Colorado State University. Today is Phil's Day. He announced his forecast, the initial forecast for the 2025 hurricane season. It's coming, ready or not, so let's give it to us straight. What are the numbers?
Yeah, so we're forecasting an above normal hurricane season, a total of 17 named storms. Those are tropical storms and hurricanes. Of those 17, 9 becoming hurricanes, and of those 9, 4 becoming major category 3, 4, 5 hurricanes. That's somewhat above normal. An average season has about 14 storms, 7 hurricanes, and 3 major hurricanes.
So everyone at home is thinking, okay, is Dothan going to be hit? Phil, is Dothan going to be hit? What can you tell us?
Unfortunately, there's really nothing we can say this far in advance. So basically what we're doing now is trying to say overall the Atlantic Ocean looks like it will be more conducive for supporting storm activity this year than in an average year. We can't say months in advance when or where a storm would strike.
And that is a key takeaway. You can say there are going to be 50 storms out there, and maybe there are 50 storms, but if they don't hit our area, the impacts locally don't matter quite so much. So the key is be prepared as we go into this hurricane season. Last season, the Gulf of Mexico was busy, of course. It was kind of quiet, though, for the middle portion of hurricane season. Take us back to what you were thinking, because at the beginning of last year, your numbers were pretty high, and then we had this lull in August into September. Were you thinking, okay, maybe it's not going to be quite as busy?
Yeah, it was a very unusual season. So it ended up considered a hyperactive season. We had 11 hurricanes, 5 majors, which is a lot, and actually exactly what we forecast in April. But it got there in a very unusual way. We had a very busy start with Beryl, first earliest Category 5 in the Atlantic on record. Then we had Debbie and Ernesto, a couple of other robust hurricanes. And then about the time the season normally ramps up, it got extremely quiet for about 5 weeks. And then that 5-week lull basically ended with a bang, started with Helene, and then we had 7 hurricanes after September 25th onwards, which is the most on record. So it went from very, very busy to very quiet to extremely busy. So baseball, you could say it was basically like someone going 6 for 8 in a 3-game series, then going 0 for 30, and then coming out of that slump hitting like 4 grand slams in a weekend.
I laugh because Phil is like me, very baseball knowledgeable, we'll say, definitely. Okay, so this year ahead, you look at the Gulf of Mexico, are there any signals or any signs that the Gulf may be busier or less busy compared to normal?
Yeah, one of the challenging areas really for forecasting, I know people don't want to hear this, is the forecasting in the Gulf, and that's because Gulf storms can kind of come from 3 different places. So you can get storms that actually just form in the Gulf itself. Like, for example, Alberto last year formed in the Gulf. Also, Francine last year formed in the Gulf. You also can have other storms that will come out of the Caribbean and track into the Gulf, like we saw with Helene. Or you can have storms come all the way from Africa, like Beryl, and come all the way across the Atlantic and end up in the Gulf that way. So because of those different formation mechanisms, it makes it hard to really be able to say anything specific about the Gulf. One thing we can say is that generally when you do not have El Nino, which we don't anticipate, we do not think we'll have El Nino this summer and fall, and you have a warm Caribbean like we have now, that typically makes for more activity in the Caribbean, and storms coming out of the Caribbean sometimes will track into the Gulf, and we can say that Caribbean looks like it'll probably be more active than normal, just given overall the environment.
Phil, thank you for your time. The key here from the National Tropical Weather Conference is to be prepared. Hurricane season officially begins June 1st and goes through the end of November. That's it for me from here. We'll have more Weather Extra coming up.
And now, News 4's Weather Extra with meteorologist Ryan Duggar.
Welcome back to Weather Extra. David, I caught you saying Gulf of Mexico. That deserves a little bit of the buzzer, but it's okay. Into this hurricane season, you're gonna catch me so many times saying Gulf of Mexico. It's really part of the textbook knowledge that we have. But for those of you who may not know, I went to a storm symposium this past weekend, and I met up with one of my old friends who's doing some grad research. I investigated on what she was doing.
Hey everyone, I'm at the Southeast Severe Storm Symposium here at Mississippi State University, where both professionals and students are coming together to talk about research from all across the country. And I'm actually joined here by my old friend Brianna Salazar, a grad student. Brianna, great afternoon. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing fantastic. Now, you gave a great presentation earlier. I wanted to ask if you could summarize what you have been researching for the past couple of years now.
I love the integration of social science within severe weather research, so I really wanted to create a survey and incorporate simulated scenarios for past tornado outbreaks and really display those outbreak events within the survey to respondents. And this survey is actually catered towards different sectors of meteorologists, such as broadcast, operational, academia. We really wanted to learn more about how these different sectors of meteorologists perceive and interpret composite indices, specifically as it relates to forecasting tornado potential.
What we talk about most of the time is the significant tornado parameter. Could you describe what kind of data goes into that parameter?
Specifically for the STP, or significant tornado parameter, we really have to specify, or it actually has to be defined, the mixed layer cape, which that's just the mixed layer buoyancy or energy. And so within this is a widely used and widely accepted parameter, instability parameter in our field. SCP is best for the overall environment, but not best for the overall assessment of tornado potential. I think we should all just kind of learn about what we know and kind of determine where the limitations lie, especially within the sectors that really utilize these composite indices more commonly. And then same with the improvements to the training within the National Weather Service, kind of being consistent in the way that we don't rely on these indices. We need to look at like our soundings, our observations, satellite radar, that kind of thing, and then maybe see what the overall summarization of the atmosphere is based off of the provided composite indices.
Exactly. Those composite indices are a great tool, and they do come with variability, and that's something that we always try to account for in our forecasts, especially when tracking severe weather. But that does it for our time. Thank you so much, Brianna. And I'm going to toss things back over to the studio.
It really is fascinating research, the amount of data that goes into those indices, and they're good tools, but they do have a lot of limitations, and as it's really encompassing a lot of data together, it's a great tool, but I'm glad she's doing that research, and the future of meteorology is in good hands. But real quick before we go, we're going to take a last look at the severe weather setup that we could see for this weekend. It's not too promising. This is a look at the radar, the base reflectivity for Sunday afternoon. Pretty stormy for much of Alabama. There could be a few to scattered showers and thunderstorms making their way into our area for Sunday afternoon. Some of those could pack a little bit more energy. We'll likely see more widespread rain overnight into Monday, and that could bleed into parts of Monday morning as well. Hopefully brings us some decent rainfall. But taking a look at the severe weather setup for Sunday, this is the amount of energy that we have, and that low-level jet right there, it's behind that energy, but there is some there that's trying to extend, so that could allow for some storms to maybe rotate, but we'll likely see more tall storms that pack gusty winds, maybe even some hail along with that energy. And there's the radar, so it's kind of using that energy that would be in place. But then we get into Monday morning, there's the energy, but you overlay that radar, it's kind of using a little bit, but it is starting to lack as it makes its way farther to the east. So be weather aware into especially Sunday afternoon, but we'll likely see just a little bit more of that shower thunderstorm activity on the lesser side of things for Monday morning. But we'll have more Weather Extra tomorrow. David takes us in the yard, and we'll have a better look at the severe weather this weekend. Until then, great night.